TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House earlier today. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian voices skepticism about prospects to achieve an agreement with the United States. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan insists his country is not seeking influence in the region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with U.S. President Donald Trump for an 8th meeting earlier today, since the latter assumed office last year. The focus of their meeting, negotiations with the Islamic Republic of Iran, which in contrast to Tehran's unequivocal rejection, it includes American demands related to strict limitations to the Ayatollah regime's nuclear program, its ballistic missiles program, and its support for non-state actors, which are designated by the majority of Western countries as terrorist organizations. This position was made clear by President Donald Trump himself ahead of the meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, reinforcing Ambassador Mike Huckabee's remarks that there is an extraordinary alignment between Israel and the United States. In an interview with Fox Business Network's Kudlow, President Trump stressed that the Islamic Republic of Iran would be foolish not to make a deal.
As you know, we have a massive flotilla right now going over to Iran. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal. I think they'd be foolish if they didn't. We took out their nuclear power last time, and we'll have to see if we take out more this time.
President Trump was further asked about whether the Ayatollah regime could be trusted since it had systemically violated every agreement it had ever signed.
Do you think a deal with Iran, with this current regime, would ever really stick?
They want to make a deal. They wouldn't talk to anybody else, but they're talking to me. But, it's a good question. A lot of people say no. And I would say that I'd rather make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. No nuclear weapons, no missiles, no this, no that, all the different things that you want. But some people worry that they've been very dishonest with us over the years, right? Very dishonest. Obama and Biden, what they did in terms of creating a monster with Iran was terrible. That Iran nuclear deal was one of the dumbest deals I've ever seen.
It is worth noting that ahead of the meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Donald Trump, Qatar's Emir, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, held a phone conversation with the latter, which according to the office of the Emir, focused on efforts for regional de-escalation and stability. The phone call between President Trump and Emir Al Thani also preceded a visit by Iran's National Security Council Secretary, Ali Larijani, to Doha for high-level talks related to the ongoing tensions between the Ayatollah regime and the United States. It is interesting to know that before arriving in Qatar earlier today, the top security advisor of the Islamic Republic Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Ali Larijani held a marathon of talks with Omani officials in Muscat, focusing on establishing a diplomatic framework that could potentially avert war.
From the beginning, we believe that war does not resolve matters between the two countries, and the regional disputes between Iran and the West must be resolved through dialogue. It was a mistake on the part of others to believe that they could resolve issues through the language of force. This was a negative point and led to many problems in the dialogue. We believe that the many problems in the region must be resolved through dialogue between both sides.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, thousands of Ayatollah regime supporters flooded the streets of the Iranian capital on the occasion of the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution. Answering a question on whether they support the diplomatic track currently being held with the United States, sentiments among regime supporters were clearly negative.
No, I am definitely not in favor of negotiations with the US because they never kept their promises and agreements, and they always prove their hostility to us. I don't think there is any point in talking to them at all. Just like our leader said, if a war happens later, it will be a regional war, and we will definitely expel America from this region.
In the current situation, negotiations are of little use because what they have prepared in advance and are telling you to accept is not very useful for our country. Definitely this time, all their bases must be hit. This time, a stronger response must be given so that they will not dare to come near and act against our country again.
Yes, we are not in favor of war, we are in favor of negotiations. But if they are going to force something on our country, for example, they say, don't have missiles, don't have a nuclear program, then absolutely not, we are willing to go to war in that case, but we will not accept them.
At the main event at Tehran's Azadi Square, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian seized the public stage to point a blaming finger at the United States and European nations for attempting to bring the Ayatollah regime down by triggering mass anti-regime protests across Iran. It is interesting to know that while blaming the United States and Europe for the anti-regime protests absent any proof, President Pezeshkian also voiced regret over the regime crackdown on protests, killing many thousands of Iranian civilians.
It was the United States and European countries that tried to bring down our revolution. As the head of the government, I apologize to the noble people for the shortcomings that exist. Despite these shortcomings and deficiencies, we in the government are making every effort, with all our strength, to resolve all these problems firmly and resolutely, and, by God's power and under the wise leadership of the Supreme Leader, we will do so.
President Pezeshkian continued by stressing that President Trump's remarks about his demands for Iran to limit its nuclear and ballistic missile programs, in addition to other unspecified issues, does not allow diplomacy to reach a desired outcome.
The high wall of mistrust that the United States and Europe have created, through what they say and the atmosphere they have generated, does not allow these talks with the United States to reach a result. Our Iran will not bow to their excessive demands. Our Iran will not back down in the face of injustice and aggression. But we are in talks with neighboring countries with all our strength to promote peace and stability in the region.
It is important to point out that while initially White House officials noted an expectation for a quick, indirect follow-up meeting with the Ayatollah regime representatives, such a meeting has not been scheduled to date. Separately, the United States continues to amass forces in the region, and according to the American news site Axios, President Trump revealed in an interview that he is considering sending a second aircraft carrier strike group to the Middle East to prepare for military action if negotiations with Iran fail. Turning now to Ankara, where Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called for stability and reconciliation in Syria, urging all sides to prioritize unity and avoid actions that could derail prospects for lasting peace.
The roadmap for lasting peace in Syria has been set. Parties must avoid miscalculations, repeating past mistakes, or poisoning the process with maximalist demands.
The Turkish leader continued by claiming that Turkey does not seek to assert its influence in Syria or anywhere else in the region.
Türkiye bölgesinde nüfuz arayışında değil.
Turkey is not seeking influence in the region and has no desire to shape other countries.
Asla değildir.
On the contrary, we sincerely seek brotherhood.
Bir şekilde kardeşlik istiyoruz.
It is interesting to know that the statement by President Erdogan today comes merely 2 days after Turkey's defense minister, Yasir Güler, stated that Turkey has no plans to withdraw its military forces from Syria or anywhere else. Speaking to Turkey's Daily Hurriyet, Minister Güler responded to a question about whether Ankara would withdraw after Damascus reached an agreement with the Kurdish SDF in northeastern Syria, saying that only Ankara will decide when to withdraw, regardless of agreements between other parties. It is further important to explain that the Turkish military controls currently roughly 27,500 square kilometers of northern Syria, which is roughly 5,500 square kilometers more than the entire sovereign territory of the State of Israel. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to seize this opportunity to voice my gratitude if you're a supporter of TV7 Israel. Your donation is essential in helping us produce our daily news updates from here in Jerusalem. If you haven't yet supported TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, please consider doing so. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, please keep the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel in your prayers. Jonathan Hassan wishing you an Erev Mevorach. God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.